Welcome into another episode of Odd Man Rush. Hope you're having a great week. I'm Will Highland, joined by Kyle Diezel. We're doing our Western Conference preview ahead of the start of the NHL season, which is beginning on Wednesday. I um I am really excited for this year, and I think one of the things I'm most excited for is to see how the league reacts to some of these players in the Western Conference that we're going to talk about being in a contract year. So we're going to get to that part of it. But Kyle, first of all, how are you? And second of all, can we get a weather report before we start the Western Conference preview?
Yeah, I'm doing all right. Just celebrating the stag this past weekend, and I have to say the weather has been gorgeous. This is I think our
Perfect.
last warm weekend I think we're gonna have. I think this is the passing off the torch from summer to fall. And with that exciting news of it being handed off here, I think it's setting the mood for hockey season starting this upcoming week. So I think that's the exciting part. So hopefully the weather's been up nice in Maine as well for yourself.
It has been. It has been. We had a nice weekend last weekend. I remember telling people last Friday, oh, this is probably our last warm weekend, and then we got one more. So, yeah, chances are we'll slide probably into the 50s,
Yeah.
for the rest of the month, and then, we'll get cold in November. But yeah, we are really blessed. I went golfing today. Uh, you
How'd you?
know, the Red Sox and me went golfing this weekend. Pretty soon, hopefully, the Yankees are going golfing, too, by the looks of it. First time you'll ever catch me rooting for Toronto in the playoffs. Um, but certainly been good weather up here too. And since you're on the road west of me, it's actually quite fitting that we're talking about the Western Conference last week or the week before, whenever it was, when we talked about the Eastern Conference. One of the things that we focused on was the fact that the playoff race was going to be pretty wide open in the middle. I'm not sure if it's going to be as wide open in the Western Conference, but there are a couple teams on the bubble that I think could make a sneaky run. But we're going to start with the Pacific Division, Kyle, and I think without question, let me know if you agree. The biggest story in the Western Conference and specifically the Pacific Division is going to be the fact that Jack Eichel and more importantly Connor McDavid are in contract years. Neither one of them have a contract after this season, and they both reside in the Pacific Division. And the Pacific Division has sent a team to the Stanley Cup final 3 years in a row. So I think this division is r really top heavy and really competitive. What do you see out of the Pacific Division and namely the Oilers and Golden Knights?
Yeah, I mean, I see them as the number one, number two teams right now in the Pacific Division. It's going to be interesting to see, as we talked about before, all in the offseason about Mitch Marner now officially joining the Knights during free agency. So I think this is going to be an interesting time to see how he fits in with this team and see if he can be that. Basically, instead of being under Austin Matthews' shadow, is he going to perform and exceed expectations of he's no longer in the shadow, he is a true superstar, and potentially take the Knights all the way as we see here. And then the Oilers, surprisingly earlier last week, they traded for a goaltender here of Connor Ingram, which we have been talking about this entire offseason as well, them needing a goaltender. I'm not sure if he's going to be their answer, but I think it's a good start in the right direction of having him as a backup goaltender. Number one being he is not super expensive, so it's something that they can put into their budget long term. So they're looking to make cuts in the offseason. But overall, those are going to be the two teams I'm looking forward to, at least in that Pacific. Coming up down to the Kings, I think their captain had just retired this past offseason as well. So I think it's going to be kind of interesting to see how they move forward without him as a
Well,
team.
he's still playing. This is his last year.
This is last year. So it'll be interesting.
Okay, yeah, they'll still have him.
So it'll be interesting to see for them if it's going to be their last hurrah as together as a team to make this push. As we know, they have put up a fight against the Oilers and the Knights before in the playoffs, especially the Oilers. So I think it's a team that you still can't count out in that Pacific Division. Outside of that, what we talked about before is the Canucks. I want to hear your thoughts on if you think the Canucks here are going to be a team potentially on the cusp, especially bringing everyone back and all the drama we've been hearing in the last year. So I want to hear your thoughts on that.
All right, well, I'll start with Vancouver since you asked, and then I will circle back to the other three. I think with Van, their issue is that they have kind of found themselves stuck between a rock and a hard place.
Mhm.
I think they want to I think they want to blow it up. I really do. I think they realized they had a lot of last year. I think they wanted to blow it up, is what I'm saying. I
Yeah.
don't think they want to do that now. But last year I think they wanted to blow it up. They had a lot of guys who were, not gelling, whether it was JT Miller or Elias Pettersson or Demko was hurt all year, and Connor Garland and Brock Besser
Mhm.
were, I think, needed contracts. And obviously we know the Quinn Hughes situation. Um, and so I think Vancouver wanted to start fresh, but I think they also knew that their fan base wouldn't accept that. And similar, to a lot of teams in that position, they decided to pivot and give it one last go. Um, and try and make this core work because they still had a lot of pieces there, from that team in 2023-24 that went to the second round. And I think they believe they are going to be a playoff team because of the players that they still have there, like Pedersen and Brock Besser, and they have Jake DeBrusk, who they spent a lot of money on last summer. Vander Kane they traded for. I think Connor Garland's playing on their third line now. I think they have a belief that they'll they'll be a playoff team, and so I think that's why they're doing it, and I think they also believe that they'll be a better team if Thatcher can play for them all year,
Yeah.
um, and stay healthy. So that's what I think Van believes. Problem is, I don't know how realistic that is for this roster to go where they want it to go in the West in this division,
Yeah.
similar to some other teams that are kind of stuck in the limbo. But they believe that they need to do it because it's what their fans want to do. So I think, like I said, they're stuck between a rock and a hard place. And quickly on the Kings, and then I want to ask you a question about the Knights and the Oilers. But like with the Kings, like I I think I think at some point I think at some point they need to they need to realize who they are.
Mhm.
And in Anze Kopitar's last year, like what are they trying to achieve? Are they going for a cup? Because if so, they're going to need to do something probably mid-season to make their team better. Um, because I don't think their defense is good enough to go
Yeah.
win around in the playoffs. All due respect, Brian Dumoulin, my fellow Mainer, he doesn't have the legs that he used to have, and I don't really see anyone else on that roster immediately. Like if I'm looking at the Kings,
Mhm.
that jumps out to me defensively, um, for for them going where they want to go. Uh, you know, Drew Doughty again doesn't have the legs he used to have. He's an older guy who's dealt with
Yeah.
an injury last year. Um, so we'll see what happens with them. But my question for you about the Oilers and the Knights, circling back to that, is like who do you think has more pressure on them? Like, because Mitch Marner was brought in, Vegas went out and spent a lot of money. They know Eichel's in a walk year. They got probably the best top six in the West, in my opinion. We can maybe debate that later on. Uh, but but again, like I would say that the pressure is still on Edmonton because they have the best player in the world in a walk year after losing two straight finals. Like that's who, because Vegas has already got their cup. I would say the more pressure is on the Oilers, despite the fact that Vegas maybe made the bigger offseason splash.
Yeah, no, I totally agree. I do believe it is the Oilers who have the most pressure, especially going back to back Stanley Cups and coming up short twice. is a big issue. I mean, they've already proven that they can beat the Golden Knights in a playoff series. I do think that the Golden Knights are kind of that forefront of what teams in the West want to be because they're the most recent team that has won a Stanley Cup from the Western Conference. But you said the pressure is on the Oilers just because they have the greatest player in the world and it's his contract year. So does he stay or does he go? And like I said, they're bringing in Connor Ingram, as my assumption is to potentially open up some cap space for next year, but also potentially have another option at goaltender because as we saw throughout the entire last 2 years, is goaltending was their issue. And I don't know if this is going to solve their problem or not. I mean, the only reason why the Knights won is because they had a goaltender who was hot. Aiden Hill was hot when they won 3 years ago. So I'm just seeing if that's the case. Great. If not, so far for Edmonton, I would say no. I would say that's they got to figure out. But I do like Mitch Marner joining the Golden Knights here. It's like you said, top six, very phenomenal. So I think they don't have as much pressure because, like you said, they've won recently. But that being said, do you think anyone here in the Pacific could creep up and make a wild card spot, or do you think anyone drops out of the top three here in the Pacific? You're muted.
I'm muted, of course. I'm muted. I can't even make a joke about that. Thank you. Um, Amateur hour. I was anyway. We're moving on. I agree with what you said about goaltending with both of those teams. That will be a question mark. I think for both of them. And I really think the whole division. I mean, I'm thinking out loud here. I'm gonna go out on a limb and probably say that this sounds wild. But I think does Calgary have the best goalie in that whole division? I mean,
I would say so. I think they have the best goal
so like,
besides Demko if he's healthy.
yeah, question, yeah, it's true. Anyway, you're so I agree with your goaltending question. Um, your original question was about the top three.
Yes.
So the top three of being LA, Vegas, and Edmonton in reverse order there. I think it's fair, but again, like we saw the Flames miss the playoffs by a point last year.
Mhm.
I think Anaheim is probably the most improved team in the whole league. I truly believe that. Like, and I know it's really hard because we thought that about Nashville last year. It's really easy to say a team won the offseason, whatever, but they've got the McTavish contract out of the way. They have really good young players. Uh, and Bennett Seneke's one of the best young players in the league. Same with Cutter Gauthier,
Yeah.
Mason McTavish. They brought in some veterans like Chris Kreider,
Yeah.
and I think Granlund.
Correct.
Um, but like their goaltender is Peter Mrazek and Lucas Dostal, who
Yeah.
I'm not like in love with. Dostal's also hurt. However, like I would say if you're gonna have those top three be the solid three, then you're gonna be looking at like Calgary or Anaheim or Vancouver, who we talked about. If they for some reason don't go where they want to go, it's gonna open the door for the Flames or the Ducks to grab a spot.
Mhm.
And similarly, like if the Kings run into aging and injury problems, then it's kind of open the door for one of those other teams. So yeah, you probably do have a top three that's pretty solid, but like what are you seeing with like the bottom of the division? Like, do you think Seattle has a puncher's chance or Anaheim has a puncher's chance at getting to the postseason?
Yeah, I would say so. I think we talked about before. I think the Flames have the highest chance right now because they were so close and phenomenal. They have probably the number one or number two goaltender, debatably, in that division alone. I just don't see the Kraken quite making it back. They just haven't played consistently all season. I still think they're missing a few pieces. I do think the Ducks, as you mentioned before, have made a huge improvement. But as you mentioned, goaltending is their issue. They traded away probably their best, probably top three players on their team from last year. I would say is Gibson. So trading him away is going to take a huge hit to
Yeah.
them.
They were
But we'll
trying to
see.
get rid of that contract for a while though, so it's weird. And
Correct.
I think they wanted to do it to clear money for McTavish, which I like.
Mm,
But I'm with you. I don't think Anaheim might be a year or two away, but I think they're in a better spot.
correct. I mean, you could be like the Sharks and just have what
Oh, I
six
forgot about them.
team, and then they trade all of them away. They just keep building up goaltenders as a way to finance things. So besides that, I don't think like you talk about the Canucks. I'm not too worried. Like you talk about, is Demko going to be healthy? Is my concern. I think they could make the playoffs if they kind of get rid of all the drama that we mentioned before and put things together. But it is the year to kind of make or break for that team because as we saw this offseason, there is a little bit of frustration going on with the players. With Quinn Hughes wanting to potentially leave or the owners being open to it. So we need to see what happens there with them. But I think that's the one team that I'd be worried about if they're going to blow up or not.
Yeah, I mean, I think you've got a couple teams in that division that could be on the bubble that could also be on blown up watch.
Mm.
And I think Calgary and Vancouver are those teams. Like, if Calgary's not in the playoffs, I would
Yeah,
trade. I mean, I would trade Rasmus Anderson like before Christmas, if they're not in the playoffs. Maybe they drive the price up, wait a little bit longer, but
yeah,
they can't miss the playoffs by a point or two and let Rasmus walk in July for nothing. And again,
no,
he's not the biggest marquee free agent, obviously in this division, but yeah, Calgary might be one of those teams to trade somebody. In Vancouver, certainly. They have a
yeah,
lot of Again, they have a lot of assets on that team, but not a lot of movable ones. I mean, Quinn is really the most tradable player on the Canucks. They're not going to trade. There's not another tradable player on that team right now. Um,
no,
and like Anaheim, I mean Anaheim could have traded um somebody like a McTavish if they signed him to an arbitration deal or whatever. But since they just locked him up long term, I don't know who they would trade if they bought him out. Um, maybe somebody like Frank Vetrano or Alex
yeah.
Killorn. But yeah, I'm with you. I think we're in agreement on this division. I would say like if I had to put a fourth place team on here, um, I might go on a limb and say that you're gonna get a surprise team, and that
Mm.
surprise team is gonna be um
Uh,
the the Calgary Flames sliding into a spot, and maybe just maybe Anaheim.
so,
So
so your expert opinion here, since you support both the Bruins and the Flames, who has the higher chance of making the playoffs this year between the two?
um well, they're actually in very similar spots in their division where they're not. I don't think they're going to be last. I don't
Yeah,
see the Bruins being last again. We talked about that last week. Um, they had too much go wrong last year, so like I can't see how it would go much worse.
correct.
Whereas Calgary only missed the playoffs by what, a point or two last year.
Yeah,
I think they got slightly better um, over the offseason. They have a lot of young guys, especially on defense, that they want a lot out of. Um, like you like Kevin Ball, who you know well. Um, so I actually would say Calgary has a better shot at the playoffs, and the reason why I would say that is because I think the West is a lot more top heavy than the East. I think the East, there's a lot of guys in the middle that are going to beat up on each other, especially since the last time we talked, Barkov has been
yeah.
hurt and is out for the regular season um, for Florida, and so I think that's going to just squeeze everybody even more.
Mm.
Whereas the West, you could have a team like Calgary get hot in the second half, a lot like St. Louis did last year, and
Yeah.
end up sliding into the playoffs. Um, so yeah, what now moving on in the Metro, like do you see the Metro or sorry, the Central, do you see the Central being similar in that you have like a clear one, two, three, and then kind of a mess at the bottom?
Yeah, I mean, I would say so. The only team that I would say potentially would move up there would be, I'll start with who I think would be the team that I'm looking at here is one through three is being the Avalanche, the Stars, and the Jets. Those are would say my three teams. Potentially, I would say the Wild potentially could get in there as a sneaky team. They have solid. They're solid all the way around, I would say. With Boldy, he played phenomenal last year in the Four Nations and had a phenomenal season. Brock Faber coming out there. My only concern here is a little bit of goaltending. I know Phillip had a pretty solid year last year. Can we get that again from him? Is the question. But I just think those three teams are a step ahead of where the Wild are at. They just re-signed what's his name? I'm drawing a blank to his contract extension.
Oh, Kirill Kaprizov.
Yeah, they signed
Yep.
Caprice back, which I think is phenomenal for them.
Yep, they needed that.
Huge move by them, but I don't know if it's going to be a step to pass over the Stars, the Jets, because the Stars and the Jets, as we know, have the other two best goaltenders, probably the number one and two in this division. The Avs, I would say, are just built all the way around with Nathan McKinnon, and last year they were plagued with injuries, is what killed them. So I
Yep.
think they're going to bounce back. I don't think the Jets are going to repeat what they did last year. I don't see Hellebuck. He's not getting any younger. Kyle Connor's not getting any younger. So, like, I don't see them repeating what they did last year. I think this
Yeah.
is a year where the Avs take the number one seed overall. I unfortunately don't think the Preds are going to get any better like we thought, too. Like we thought last year, the team that steps up. I don't see the Blackhawks either. I do think the Blues will stay where they were. I think the Blues still have a shot of making the playoffs again, especially just
Yeah, I don't know about St. Louis.
I think they have a good chance. I'm not too sure about the Jazz. I'm not sure how this whole
The Jazz.
or
The
Jazz. Sorry.
Mammoth. I love that though. I've said that I said that to somebody the other day. I was like, "Well, the Utah Jazz," and they were like, "You mean the Mammoth?" I literally said that to somebody the other day.
So I think the Mammoth. I mean, they did a lot of trades this off year. I think they're still in that rebuilding stage.
Yeah.
They officially also just have a mascot, and they're no longer the hockey club.
Yeah.
So I think for them, they're kind of in that phase of getting there. But I think the top three teams are kind of set. Potentially four, as I said. I think the Wild have it. Blues potentially could sneak in once again as that other team, but I don't see anyone else taking over unless you see something different.
So I see the bottom four a little bit differently than you.
Okay.
I do think the top four is pretty clear. Yeah, I think Dallas is the best team top to bottom in the division. Um, they had kind of a crash landing last year.
Mhm.
We know about, what their coach said and everything. They kind of left a sour taste in everyone's mouth. However, they are set up to have a really good season. And so I think they're the best team. I think they're the best team in that division, clearly. I think the Jets are clear too. You're right that their window on this team with Scheifele, Connor, and Hellebuck isn't going to be around forever. I think they probably still have a couple more years of this,
Yeah.
and so they have to make hay while they got it. They have all these guys signed, and they also brought in a guy who knows how to win. Now, what is Jonathan Taves going to be at age 37 or whatever he is? I'm not sure, but at least you're bringing in a presence in the locker room of somebody that has won
Mhm.
a Stanley Cup,
Yeah.
if not three. So that's good. And then I'm with you on Colorado. I think Colorado, speaking of like veteran leadership, I think Gabe Landeskog, again, you're not expecting a ton out of him, like,
No.
with how long he's been separated from the uh, game because of that injury, much like Taves, but you're at least having a leader in that room. Um, and I think that will go a long way. Colorado, of course, has, as you point out, been decimated by injuries, but they bring in Brock Nelson and then keep him
Yeah.
last year. And then they've got Lehkonen still at the top of their lineup, and then they bring in Marty Necas and keep
Oh,
him. So I think these are huge factors for that team and what they want to accomplish. The fact that they have some consistency now. So again, top three, those very clear. Minnesota, I'm with you on. I'm not going to dissect it too much further. Where I disagree with you is on the bottom four. I think Chicago, I wish I could say, because I think it's good for the sport, the Blackhawks being good. I do. It's like the Cubs in baseball. I think Chicago's a good sports town. When they're good, when the Bears are good, it's good for the rest of the country and
Yeah.
the whole leagues. I wish I could say that they were going to make a playoff push. I still don't see it. I felt the same way about San Jose. Great young players, but just, a little bit too soon. I see Nashville being better. I can't I I wish I could say I feel confident about putting them as my five, but like I have a hard time believing that like, Philip Forsberg and Steven Stamkos and like Jonathan Marchessault. I mean, they're not spring chickens. I had a hard time believing that they're going to be as bad as they were last year. They did bring in Bunting, I think, and then they drafted Brady Martin. They took a chance, and it looks like he's going to make the team.
Yeah.
Uh, so I feel better about the Predators. I kind of I feel that way about the Bruins and the Predators, right? Like they were teams that you expected more out of last year. Same thing with the Rangers. I can't imagine them being that bad again. So I'm putting them at five. At six, I'm actually putting Utah. I think Utah is going to surprise a few people this year. Um, Logan Cooley and Dylan Genther and JJ Peterka is a great top line for a young team that
Mhm.
needs to get eyeballs and asses in the seats. Um, so I'm good with that. I think Clayton Keller is solid, and I think the defense could probably use some work. But you know, they've got a fighting chance, and their goaltending situation is not ideal. Um, but look, they could be a team that I see make a push just like they did last year. They were in the playoff mix right there with Calgary and Vancouver at the end of the year. And we've been talking about those teams like they're not good. Now, the team I'm leaving out is the team that you aptly point out did do well, and that's the Blues. I just something about I like Montgomery, of course, we all know that.
Yeah.
But I just look at their lineup and there's just their bottom six is just a bunch of dudes that I've never heard of other than Braden Shen. I'm looking at their lineup. I mean, it's just I mean, I guess Jake Neighbors is okay, but they're gonna ask a lot out of this roster. Cam Fowler's not a spring chicken. They're asking a lot out of that roster. Um, So I could be wrong. Robert Thomas is still a good player. Pavel Buchnevich is a good player, and we all know what Jordan Binnington can do in big games down the stretch if they need to. But yeah, I see them. I see kind of that Utah, St. Louis, Nashville kind of just being a bundle, and I don't really know who to pick, so I just kind of put them in an order, and then of course Chicago at last. Um, but yeah, like, do you see like is there a time frame? I guess we'll go on a quick tangent here. Do you see a time frame on this Chicago rebuild before people start to get a little bit antsy?
I mean, I'm concerned. I mean, this shouldn't be the team. I think should be at least a little more competitive. I mean, I think the issue is they're not bringing in the right guys. I don't think they're bringing in guys who are going to help Connor and help this team grow overall. And plus, they don't have any real goaltending. Is the other issue. So what? Their starting goaltender
It
is
looks like it's going to be Spencer Knight, who they got from Florida.
yeah, Spencer Knight, the back. I mean, that's an improvement. Okay, so that would be helping him. But who's Connor Bedard got on this team that's gonna help him grow? I mean, I'm looking at this roster. Sam,
Nobody. I
oh
mean, maybe. Oh, go ahead. I'll let you go first.
yeah, no, I was gonna say, gosh,
I mean, I'm looking at it too, and tell me if you agree or disagree. But like, I'm they traded Taylor Hall to
you know,
Carolina. I would have kind of held on to Taylor Hall because Taylor Hall's he's been on your team, he's been on my team, he's kind of been all over the league, and he probably wanted to stay somewhere, and you probably could have convinced him to stay in Chicago. Maybe he just wants to win a cup, maybe he wasn't gonna stay, so maybe
yeah,
that's it. But like, if it was in a vacuum, I would have just kept him because he's a guy who's won an MVP, who's been a number one pick.
yeah,
We talked about it before. He would have been good to have around Bedard. But Ryan Donato, again, former Bruin, good player. They've got a lot of former Bruins on this team. Nick Foligno, decent guy. He's somebody who has been a captain in the league.
yeah,
Maybe he's somebody you keep around Bedard, but like th this isn't supposed to be like Bedard's mentorship. You know what I mean? It's they should be bringing in guys that are gonna like help elevate Bedard. And right now, like Tyler Bertuzzi and Teuvo Teravainen are probably their best wingers. Uh, I mean Burakovsky and Donato are good, but like Donato's probably best suited to be like a second or third line center rather than a top line left wing next to Bedard. So I'm a little concerned, like you. I don't think I'm agreeing. I don't think they've brought in the right guys. They brought in good guys if you're looking at like helping develop him as an NHL player, but they want Connor Bedard to be the face of the league, not just a serviceable top line center.
Correct. And
Yeah.
that's a concern. I mean, it's also took what a few years for the Canadians here to finally get the mojo going. Um, but I still think they need time to as well to grow as players. Um, I think they're also still a little undersized. I mean, I still think Jack Hughes is undersized. I mean, look what happened to Austin Matthews, McDavid. They put more weight on in the offseason, and I think it took them probably what 4 years, I would say, to kind of really get adjusted and accustomed to the NHL style.
Yeah.
I mean, they are also different generational talents than what Connor is. I do think Connor's still a phenomenal player, but he's only 20, 19
Yeah.
at
I
this
feel that
age?
way about what's his name in San Jose?
20.
What the heck is his name? Drafted played at BU.
Oh, yes. I mean, he's only 19 or 18, so it's
Yeah,
like
I
these guys.
forget his name.
Celebrating.
Macklin Celebrini. Thank you. Yeah,
Celebrating.
I feel it. Wow, I can't believe I forgot that. Yeah, I feel the same way about both of those guys, right? Like how like again, is there a timeline on the San Jose rebuild? Are they just going to draft at the top of the draft forever and then hope? At least Anaheim, you could say, like did that for a while, and now they're just push their chips in, and they're like, we're gonna get some veterans in here.
I mean, you could be like the Sabres and just know how to draft talent, just not know how to develop it at all.
Yeah,
Which
yeah.
that's not the case for the Blackhawks. That they just bring in this talent. I think the Sharks. I think to be honest, the Sharks are in a better position than the Blackhawks are.
This year, probably this year, you're right. I do think San Jose, you could talk yourself into saying that they've got a pretty good lineup. I mean, they've got a lot of young guys, but they also went out and they brought in Tyler Toffoli last year, I think last off season, and then they brought in Gaudette this off season. I mean, those are like kind of the only veterans on the team on the forward group.
I mean, they've got Ryan Reeves, they've got Jeff Skinner, they've
Oh,
got.
you're right. I forgot about Jeff Skinner. Yeah.
I think they bring in a lot. This potentially could be a blow up or not, but this is probably a better setup for him. They've Tyler Toffoli, one of your favorites as well. So I think they're a bit better set up for their youngsters to grow here in San Jose than Bernard is over in Chicago. I mean, look what we're talking about here, having those presence of players who have been there, done. Like, yes, not all of them have won a Stanley Cup, but they have made successful careers and know how to get there, make a playoff run for you. So I think they've
Yeah. Yeah, I
Allen.
think there's only a couple of those guys in Chicago,
Yeah.
whereas on San Jose there's like maybe four or five. So
Mm-hmm.
yeah, I mean the West is tricky. I think the West is less top or more top heavy than the East because I do think like Edmonton, Vegas, Colorado, Dallas are like and in
Mm-hmm.
Winnipeg are like a solid top five.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and then the rest of it is kind of like a bundle. Whereas in the East, you've got a bunch of teams in the middle. I
Yeah.
think there's less teams in the middle in the West. Um, who do you think wins the Pacific and the Central Division and comes out of it playing each other in
Ooh,
the conference final?
that's tough. I mean, depends how healthy everyone stays, but we're just going to go off of everyone's healthy as of now, what teams are currently set up as. It's hard to say. The Oilers aren't going to be the favorite to make it out of the Pacific again, so I have to put them there. I think that they're going to win the Pacific. How much I do love the Knights, as you know. I just think there's nothing that's stopping the Oilers right now, unless something happens to Nurse or something happens to McDavid or Draisaitl. Something happens to one of them, then potentially I can see him knocked off. I mean, maybe the Kings can upset them. We have seen the Kings play very hard for some reason between the Oilers and them. They always seem to go up to 7 games. But if they get knocked out, then it would be the Knights, I would say. So we'll go Oilers unless they get knocked out by the Kings, then the Knights. And then in the Central Division, I think it has to be Dallas. I think Dallas is a team to go through in the Central Division. I know you're probably shaking your head. It's not, um, but
I think it probably is.
I just don't. The Jets, as we talk about, they're great in the regular season, but once you hit the playoffs, it's like everyone turns into a ghost. It's like they just disappear. No one decides to show up for the playoffs. Hellbuck is not
Yeah.
a superstar. And then maybe the Avs, but my question is goaltending. They can score 5 goals, but then they can let up 6. So it's like, what am I going to do? Are you going to trust Mackenzie Blackwood or I'm trying to remember who their other backup is. Like that's my concern. I mean, they're former Devils. I know what they're like. I mean, yes, they have Cale Makar, Scott Redwood. As
Oh
their
my
other.
God, both of them are former Devils.
So it's like, do you trust them? I mean, yes, did they bring
No,
in?
I don't. It's short answer, no.
I mean, they
Compared
did.
to Ottinger, Hellebuck, and I mean,
I mean, you brought in Brett Burns, you brought in
yeah,
um, Brog Nelson, and you have
old guys. They're just old.
they're just older players. I don't know if it's going to help them move to that next step because Dallas, as we talked about, is a well-rounded team, especially with Jake Onger, who only apparently just cannot show up when they play the Oilers, which is, I think, still
Yeah, he shows up every other day of the week.
he'll play any other team but them. But what they also have written in that they got,
Yeah,
I
I
think
think
now he's got a full year to really develop into this team and gel versus just a
yeah, that's the trump card for me. I mean I think Dallas just is the best roster in the Central. I don't think it's close.
you got
Um,
who's going to be healthy this year or what they have. I think Jamie Benn was out most of the year, if I remember
yeah,
correct.
I've used the phrase spring chicken a lot. He's not a spring chicken, but
New
hey,
Jason Robertson, like this team is
I
like,
think Tyler Sagan was hurt a lot last year too. So, and
yeah,
he's getting up there in age. I think Dallas is kind of like talk about a team that's running out of time. I still think they have the best roster in the Central, top to bottom. But yeah, I mean, they kind of got to get over the hump here. Um,
yeah, they do. I mean, especially with a goaltender as Jake Onger, who is what 26, yeah, 26 years old. So like he's still like just getting to his like he's either in his prime now or peaking to his prime. So you've got a couple of years left of him, probably I'd say probably another 7 8 years to really make something work with him. But your forwards aren't getting much younger. I mean, your defense is fine. It's your forwards going to stay young because as we talked about, Ben's not getting younger, Sagan's not getting younger. Your 2 top players have been here for a year. I mean, you still have Wyatt Johnson, who's still a phenomenal player as well. So this is the make or break. They just need to get through.
yeah, Matt Duchene's young. Sorry, not young. Also,
So they just
and
need to figure out how they're going to beat the Oilers and figure out if they can keep up with a healthy Colorado and a sneaky wild team who we also talk about chokes in the playoffs as well. So I mean, between them and the Avs, that's what I would give it to.
okay. So I remember last week you had Florida and Carolina, and I had Tampa and Carolina. Do you want to change your East pick because of the Barkov injury? Okay, solid. Respect that.
He'll come back
My
for the playoffs.
what?
He'll come
Oh
back
yeah,
for.
oh yeah. Yeah, exactly. He'll be set.
He'll
Easter
be the
Sunday,
he'll
he'll
be
be
most
picking
he'll
up.
be the freshest guy out there on the ice.
Yeah, he'll be picking up Easter eggs all all over the lawn, and then suit up the next day. Um, yeah, I'm still going with who I've got in the East. In the West, um, we'll do. Let's make it fun. I'll do Vegas. No, actually, no, I don't want to do Vegas because I want Vegas to not sign Jack Eichel because I want the Bruins to sign Jack Eichel. So I'm gonna manifest that a little bit. Jack Eichel next year on the Bruins with James Higgins, David Pastrnak, and whoever else we've got. That's a Stanley Cup contender, but that's a topic for another day. Um, yeah, so I'll go Edmonton again, just to make everyone in Alberta, northern Alberta, tight one more time with McDavid before he becomes a Ranger. Just kidding. And then I'll go Dallas. I'll go Dallas, and then I think I'll go Stanley Cup pick. I'll go Stars and Hurricanes in the Stanley Cup, and I'll
Wow.
go I'll go Stars and Hurricanes in the Stanley Cup just to mix it up a little bit, and I'll go Dallas wins the cup.
Okay. Okay. I'm gonna go Panthers Dallas. I think Dallas finally gets through Edmonton this time. This is when we see that McDavid will leave the Oilers because of their lack in support goaltending. And then I think this year, unfortunately, still it's gonna be a repeat. I think the Panthers are gonna go back to back to back Stanley Cups, just because they're gonna keep their players healthy. Matthew Tkachuk's gonna be out, as well to start the season. So like these guys are gonna come in halfway through the season healthy, and we know how this Panthers team is. Even without their stars, they still are gonna be a contender. They're still gonna
Yeah,
be teams because you talk about how deep they are. What they have, I think, 13 guys signed past 2030.
yeah,
So
they're
this
deep.
team is deep.
They got Brad. They brought back all those guys that we said they weren't going to bring back.
We said they're only going to bring back at least two. Nope, they brought all three of them back.
Yeah, Ekblad, Sam Bennett, and Marchand. Yeah.
So, and I think that team is just riding its high until someone can dethrone their high. I don't see them losing.
We'll see. I think they're gonna get. I think they're gonna get my crystal ball, the trademarked Highland crystal ball, which sometimes falls and breaks and is useless. Um, I think they might get trapped in a second round series against the Lightning. Um, and that's my crystal ball. But I agree with you. My question for you is, um, if if Bill Zito, who's a GM of the of the Florida Panthers, this is I guess I'll send you with two closing questions. I want your opinion on. Part one, Bill Zito. Let's say Matt Kachuk, it's mid-January or it's mid-December. He's on track to be healthy, or maybe it's mid-January. He's on track to return, but the Olympics are coming up. Does Bill Zito let Matt Kachuk go to the Olympics?
Ooh, that's a tough question. If he's, mm, I mean, if you're a GM, you're probably going to say no.
Right.
As a fan, you're going to say yes because you want to see him play. I mean, I think it depends on how healthy he is.
I
Because if
said he's on track. If he's on track to be
he's
healthy.
on track, I mean, if it's like his first time going out to play this year, I think that's totally okay because then they can kind of see where he's at, see if he is ready to come back and play. Um, Otherwise, I would say no if you're the GM. But from fans' point, I want to see him play. I mean, he's
Oh,
got
as an American, give me that guy on
he's
the
got to
ice.
play. So if he's on track, I think he's going to play.
Yep.
If he's not on track, then he's just not. So if he is, yes, he's playing. He's playing for Team USA.
All right. Part two of the question, and we're gonna put this on record. Part two. If Edmonton doesn't win the cup, which it sounds like they're not, according to you, uh, does Connor walk? Yes or no?
Yes, he should walk. Period. Because it's in the constant cycle of how many times you're going to beat the same drum over, over, and over. Plus, are they going to have the cap to sign him back potentially? But
Even if they do, how do you build a team with?
you can't build around just. I mean, yes, you can build around him, but
Well, they've got Leon, right?
yeah, you have number one, number two, but you haven't won a Stanley Cup. You come so close umpteen years. Yes, you could stay with the same team over and over. It's like Austin Matthews signing back with the Maple Leafs. Yes, wow, woo, we go around two every year or every other year. When's enough going to be enough that like no one likes to lose?
Yep.
So at some point, you've got to kind of maybe switch things up and go somewhere fresh and get a restart. And I think this would be the best opportunity for him if they don't get there. If he doesn't make the Stanley Cup, he's automatically out of Edmonton.
Okay. What if they make it a third time and lose a third time?
He's still out. I'd say his chances are leaving are
What
pretty.
if he wins a cup with the Oilers?
Then he stays. He stays if they win a cup. Then if they lose in the Stanley Cup, I say about 50-50. He stays, he goes. But if they don't make it to the Stanley Cup, he's 100% out.
All right. I would say to answer my questions before we wrap up, I would say I would I would let Kachuk play in the Olympics because already don't have I don't have Barkov already. And he's not playing for Finland, so you want him to go there, you want him to go and feel good about his game. And if the USA medals in the Olympics and Kachuk has a huge part of it and feels good about his game, it's only going to help Florida in the second half. Um, Now, if he gets hurt, well, he was already hurt. So
Yeah.
you know what I mean? Like I think that's my answer to that question. To answer my second question, I would say if McDavid doesn't win the West, he is he is definitely leaving. Like I would not say 50-50. I say if he doesn't go to a cup final with this team, he's definitely leaving. And I think he goes to an Eastern team, and he probably goes to an Eastern team that's really close that has enough cap space, and there's only two of those teams. There is the Carolina Hurricanes
Mm-hmm.
and a team that resides
Oh my.
on Causeway Street. Okay, just putting it out there. Those are the only teams in the East that are going to have enough cap room to get McDavid that will have ability. I don't think the Rangers are going to be able to do it. I don't think the Rangers are going to be able to do it. I don't think. I don't think. I mean, New Jersey could do it, but he's not going to New Jersey. I'm sorry. He's going to go to either a Southern team or an Original Six team. He's not going anywhere on the West. He's not going to the Kings. I don't think he's going to the Kings. He's not going in the division. He's not going another place in the West. He's either going to go to a Southeast team or an Original Six Northeast team. That's my take.
Interesting.
Okay, so I'll make this because we have a couple more
He
minutes.
won't follow in what's his name's footsteps? Gretzky.
No, I don't think so. Nope, I don't think so. Uh, well, don't forget Gretzky won cups with the Oilers, so
Oh,
it's
I
a little
know.
bit different. And the last thing I'd say for you, question is, well, if he leaves, where's he going?
I think he's going to a team that's a well balanced team that has the money and has goaltending. Boston potentially because they have goaltending. I don't know if they have enough around him and Pasta to get them to that next step. Hurricanes would be phenomenal. I mean, it's already a star-studded team. Maybe that would be the push to get them past the Panthers. However, once again, as we talk about another team that doesn't have a goaltender.
Ooh, that's true. Okay, so that helps me as a Bruins fan. I like feeling that. I feel that here. I would say that the Bruins have a better future than the Oilers. I'm just putting it out there.
Yeah, I
Like
mean,
if
I
McDavid in a vacuum, if
yeah,
McDavid's looking between his two teams, the I mean, he grew up in Ontario. He's probably not a huge Bruins fan, but I'm just looking at it like the Bruins have Pasternak and James Higgins, and um, they're gonna have a lot of their defense is pretty much set. You know,
yeah,
they've got McAvoy and Lindholm. I actually think they have a better roster signed for next year than the Oilers do, right? Because you could probably have Pasta and Draisaitl cancel each other out. Okay, then you look at the rest of the roster, and I think the Bruins remaining roster's better than Edmonton. So if he's thinking, do I go to Boston or do I stay in Edmonton? I pick the Bruins. I mean, biases aside, I'm just being objective. Like they've got a goalie, they've got a better defense, they've got a better bottom six
yeah,
signed for next year. They've got a young prospect who's like one of the best in the league or in the college ranks. So
yeah. No, no.
that
I
would be a fever dream, dude. I
I
would
mean,
be
if he goes there, I think,
if
yeah,
he goes there. Oh, go ahead.
yeah. No, if he goes there, I think it's a smart decision. Like I said, Carolina would be a well-rounded all the way around, except goaltender, as I mentioned before. So isn't he kind of walking into the same scenario as he was at Edmonton? I would say
Probably.
I would say
Probably. Well, I mean, I think again the Hurricanes going forward are much better than the Oilers right now
it is,
going
but I don't know if
forward.
that's also his play style. Like his play style is totally different than how I think the Canes play. So I don't think it'd be the best.
I think RBA would change his entire structure if it meant McDavid's on his team because I think Rod wants to win more than anyone else in the league. So as a coach,
Yeah,
so I would say that's not an issue. And for all the Leafs fans who are saying, well, why not Toronto? He's not going to go play with Matthews, I promise. And the league would have a fever dream, dude, if you had the same division with Boston, Toronto, Florida. I think that might be the only holding point for McDavid, other than the taxes of Massachusetts, would be the fact that you've got Toronto and Florida already in your division.
yeah.
Um,
I mean, where if you want to talk about free agents for next year, it's a pretty vast list. I don't think anyone besides uh, Kaprizov's already taken off the board, so it's really between Connor McDavid, Eichel, Kyle Connor, um, Panarin, are kind of your top four
oh,
now
if
for
if
agents.
Panarin is a free agent, that opens New York a little bit because I mean, like Boston, they've got their goalie down.
Do you get JT Miller? JT Miller just got hurt earlier this week, so I don't know what his conditions are or how long he'll be out.
Yeah, I forgot Panarin was a free agent. That could change it a little bit. But hey, I know it's wild. It's wild. Do you have I don't know.
Uh, I,
I'm sorry. I don't think he goes to the Devils.
my,
I wish I could say
I don't need him in Jersey because we all know Quinn Hughes is going to end up in Jersey
that's right.
because they just signed Luke Hughes. As we know, Quinn or all the Hughes brothers want to play with each other, and now that Luke has been signed, I know Jack said he wouldn't mind going play in Vancouver, but I think New Jersey has the upper hand having both Jack and Luke
No,
signed.
yeah, Quinn Hughes to the Devils is a
What do we
slam dunk, dude.
give up is the kind of the question. I think it's going to be prospects and picks, which I think we're set to do. I mean, we're going to have to give up some defensive players, which
Who
I think
cares?
is fine
You're
because
getting the best defenseman offensively in the league. So get him.
correct. As long as I say, as long as you're able to keep your young defense together, you'll be fine. If you want to get rid of some of your older players, I have no issue with it.
If you have a top six like you have with Brat, Mercer, Nico,
Team of my
Jack, and I don't know who else is on, whomever, Cody Glass. I don't know who else is in the top six. But
uh,
if you have that top six, and then you have your defense is like Dougie, even if you hold on to Dougie,
no,
which you might not be able to do
you know my
because of
hot.
the money.
Dougie needs. I to be honest, I think Dougie's going to leave Jersey. I think he's got that huge. If we get rid of him, it eats up so much cap space. I think maybe he's the one who goes in that trade.
Yeah, so if you add Dougie Hamilton in that trade, I think the Canucks would eat that money if they can. If it meant getting a haul of picks and prospects for Hughes. You know, Luke would be there with him. I think you guys would immediately be
Yeah, I think that
probably
we'll
the second best team if you had Quinn, but
potentially. I think if we get rid of Dougie Hamilton and Palat, we could bring in Quinn, and then I think if that's the case, we get rid of them too. I think maybe we give a shot at Panarin or we get a shot at Eichel. Bring in another
yeah.
that
Well,
because then it can move Hughes from out of center to a wing position. Uh,
yeah.
brings in that huge veteran presence of a guy who's been there, done that. I mean, yes, Palat has done that, but Palat's also much older in age. I'm not afraid to say it. But we need some younger. We need someone who's been there, done that. This is the only thing this team is missing is someone who can get him to the next step. Like you have Jake Allen, who you signed for 1.4 million for 6 years. Like that's a steal as a backup goaltender. I mean, yes, you're still working on Markstrom's contract, and you already have a guy in the back door at Boston College who's going to be a young stud, Nico Dawes, who's in the minor leagues, who's going to come up soon. So like, goaltending's not an issue right now. It's finding another guy who can score or who
Yeah.
can team be a facilitator. So
Yeah. Totally. No, I think here we are talking about the off season.
talking about next year or potential trade deadlines before the season even starts.
That's fun. Hey, this is gonna be a fun year, dude. We're gonna have all this to talk about. The huge storylines with Eichel. Is he coming home to Boston? McDavid, where is he going? We've got all the Olympics. It's an Olympic year.
Hmm.
We've got a really packed league. I think it's gonna be a lot of fun, and I hope all of our listeners tune in. We'll probably be back maybe in a couple weeks to do a check-in on how the season's going so far, maybe after 5 or 10 games,
Hmm.
see what we like. But Kyle, thank you. We did another off season. We made it through, and now we finally got a week a week one of the NHL. So for all of you tuning in, thank you for doing that. Kyle, any last words?
My last words are let's go Devils and let's have a phenomenal hockey season.
All right, thanks, Putty. I hope we have a good hockey season too. I'm Will Highland. That's Kyle Diezel. Go Bruins. This has been a special last preview episode before the season of Odd Man Rush.